Welcome to the Explainer. You know that feeling when you check your bank balance, then look at your online shopping cart, only to realize there is absolutely no way the two are ever going to match up? It's a completely universal struggle. We all want more than we can possibly afford. But what if I told you that this very personal, everyday frustration is actually the foundational engine of the entire global economy? Today, we're breaking down the scarcity trap. We're going to explore the core of economic problems and uncover exactly why society is forced to make difficult choices every single day.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll be covering what are resources, the causes of economic problems, why efficiency matters, 3 central economic problems, and finally, how systems make choices.
Section 1. What are resources? The building blocks of our world.
At its most basic level, a resource is simply any material in our environment that helps satisfy our needs and wants. That means literally every single product you buy, use, or consume, from your morning cup of coffee to the smartphone in your pocket, relies on these underlying materials. Without them, there's no production, there's no consumption, and, well, there's no economy. Now, we generally split resources into 2 main categories. First, you've got natural resources. These are the direct contributions of the earth, things like forests, wildlife, sunlight, and fossil fuels. But as you know, nature alone isn't always in a ready-to-use format. That's where man-made resources come into play. We use human intelligence to transform raw nature, like fast-moving water or coal, into electricity, basically converting it into a highly valuable and accessible form. Section 2. Causes of economic problems. The root of scarcity. To really diagnose the root of this scarcity, we can turn to Professor Lionel Robbins from the London School of Economics. Way back in 1932, he outlined this brilliant 3-part theory in his essay on economic science, and it perfectly explains the constant nagging problem of choice that we all face. Let's move to and see how this builds. Professor Robbins argued that our entire economic problem emerges from a collision of 3 undeniable realities. Human wants are unlimited, our resources are limited, and those resources have alternative uses. Let's break these down one by one because this is where the tension truly begins. First up, we have unlimited wants. Picture a character frantically trying to juggle these glowing thought bubbles, right? But every single time they catch one, 2 more pop up and multiply endlessly. That is human desire. Our wants literally never end. When one is satisfied, another immediately takes its place. And as civilization develops, these wants just multiply. I mean, years ago, there was zero demand for computers, VCRs, Android mobiles, or LED TVs. Today, they're everywhere. Society just has innumerable wants that will simply always remain unsatisfied at any given moment. Second, we have limited resources. While our desires are expanding endlessly, our means to actually satisfy them look more like a shrinking pile of gold coins or a finite, rigid plot of land. The fundamental factors of production, land, labor, capital, and enterprise, are always scarce relative to our massive demand. Even though the overall supply of resources has technically increased over time, the demand for them is always going to be vastly greater than their availability. And this brilliantly illustrates the third pillar, alternative uses. Resources aren't just limited, they are multi-purpose. Think about a single stream of electricity branching out, fighting for its life to power a television, a microwave, and a lamp. You can't use the exact same watt for all 3 at the same time. The same rule applies to a piece of land. Do you use it to grow wheat, cotton, or vegetables? This harsh reality forces society into a constant problem of choice, requiring us to strictly economize our resources. Section 3. Why efficiency matters. Maximizing what we have. Because of this intense scarcity, efficiency isn't just a nice-to-have. It's mandatory. And there are 5 critical reasons for this. First, basic resource scarcity means we absolutely must conserve for future generations to ensure any kind of sustainable development. Second, inefficiency causes severe environmental damage. We're talking pollution and habitat destruction. Third and fourth, efficiency lowers production costs to boost economic benefits while simultaneously promoting social equity by helping reduce wealth disparities. And finally, striving to do more with less actually drives innovation. It creates entirely new job sectors like recycling and green tech. Section 4. 3 central economic problems. The macro decisions. So, zooming out from our personal scarcity, the first central macro problem a whole nation faces is what to produce and in what quantities. Because resources are limited, producing more of one commodity inherently forces a nation to withdraw resources from another.
A society literally has to choose between everyday consumer goods, like wheat, shoes, and sugar, and capital goods, like heavy machines and tools. Prioritizing consumer goods gives us a better quality of life today, sure, but it comes at the direct cost of our future productive capacity.
Okay, so once a society decides what to make, the second central problem immediately pops up. How do we produce it? This is all about the specific techniques chosen to create that specified amount of goods. So the crucial point is choosing between a labor-intensive technique, which means using more human effort and less capital, or a capital-intensive technique, which relies really heavily on machines. For instance, cloth can be made by human hands on hand looms or by massive modern automated machines. The guiding principle for economy here is always to produce the maximum output at the absolute minimum cost, utilizing the least possible amount of their scarce resources.
The third and final central problem is, for whom to produce? This is the classic problem of distribution. If a farmer produces 10 tons of wheat, how is the income from that wheat distributed? How much goes to the workers who harvested it? How much pays for the rent of the land? How much compensates the capital employed, like the tractors? And how much is kept as pure profit by the enterprise? Society has to figure out who gets more, who gets less, and whether a basic minimum amount of consumption should just be guaranteed for everyone. Section 5. How systems make choices, solving the scarcity trap. When we look at how different real-world economic philosophies actually attempt to solve these massive problems, a pretty clear matrix emerges. In a purely capitalist economy, decisions are strictly driven by demand, profit, and purchasing power. They produce what makes money, using whichever method is cheapest. Conversely, a socialist economy ignores profit margins and focuses purely on what society needs. They might even choose a more expensive, labor-intensive method simply because they need to keep unemployment low. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the mixed economy model. It brilliantly blends both approaches together. It allows the private market to produce profitable goods using the most cost-effective methods for those with the purchasing power to buy them. But at the same time, the government steps in to produce essential goods based on broader societal needs. It essentially provides a crucial safety net to help balance out the harsh realities of scarcity. Which brings us to the ultimate question. We've seen that human wants will just endlessly multiply, while our resources remain stubbornly, undeniably finite. So, if our desires never stop growing alongside civilization, can we ever truly solve the economic problem? Or are we basically destined to just constantly manage it? Definitely something to think about the next time you make a purchase. Thanks so much for tuning into this explainer. We'll see you in the next one.